Good morning, everybody. I hope the folks in the US had a good long weekend. I know I did. We're here, though, today with a bunch of articles that I think are pretty interesting to start your week off on our GAI Insights GenAI news briefing, where we rate the news as important, optional, or essential for you to pay attention to. So, today, what do we have? We have a lot. Some news on Meta. We have a really cool benchmarking tool, I think, that we'll talk about, and lots more. So let's go ahead and dive in, Ankaj.
Thanks, David. So the first one that we have for today comes from Goldman Sachs. It's a research report, and it talks about how we are spending too much on GenAI, and it will provide us too little benefit.
Lots and lots of information in this report. I had started reading this a couple days ago when it came out. Very interesting. I like how they provided a bunch of different perspectives on what's happening and how AI will affect energy demand, etc. Luda, what did you think?
Yeah, I agree with you, David. There are some interesting opinions in here with some data. I actually rate it as optional for the following reason. It's really opinions. So the way it goes, there are two people that were interviewed. One is the MIT professor, and then the Goldman Sachs AI analyst, right? And then there's some data in between. And then, so both of those provided the more negative opinion. And then there are folks in the second part of the report that had different opinions about AI growth and its impact on the world. But the reason I ended up in optional is because it's all kind of about impact on equities and other investment vehicles. And even though it's a good perspective, I think it's not as important for our audience. So if you're interested in opinions, this is a good article to read with some data on the use cases across industries and opinions about the impact. Interestingly enough, that when you read closer on the negative opinions, the professor doesn't necessarily say that the AI wouldn't have an impact, right? He mostly says at the end that if you take a look at how we would be viewed by people from 50 years from now in the future, and where's the risk the biggest, whether we go faster now or a little more with sort of taking our time to think about security and the like. So he thinks that the risk is higher on the first path, that we move very fast and wreck some things without knowing it. So that's really his opinion. And the second one is just saying historical data is not going to give us enough of the real reasoning capacity or get into applications that are useful for the general intelligence, which is true. So in other words, it's, yeah, good stuff. Like, yeah, if you scroll up, Ankash, that graph on the prior page, this show a little higher, a little higher on the left. It shows the adoption currently across industries in the red box. So it's like, okay, it's going, but it's not as a big uptake yet. But we know there's a lot of hesitation, there's a lot of trials, and people are really seriously working at that. At some point, I think it will just balloon. That's kind of my opinion. But anyway, that's optional for me.
Optional. I was feeling important, frankly. I just think, the opinion of the MIT professor, whose name is escaping me right now, probably the least valuable in the bunch. I think his analysis is interesting, but it was selective, right? With the data that he included and didn't include, was definitely subjective, and it was pointed out to be so by the AI analyst in their argument. But I just feel like it's worth reading through, even just at a skim, to kind of see all of the different issues at play, the different projections of way things can play out. The discussion of energy, I think, is important, noted as a potential gating factor, right, of how fast we can move. um, I felt like the AI leader could use this information as background and should be aware of kind of all of the different issues swirling around and the different scenarios that could potentially play out. But Adam, Amanda, what were your thoughts? Amanda?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm much of a help either because I'm kind of on the fence on this one as well. I don't know. Literally, I don't want to just pair it with you and Luda just said, but again, I don't know. I guess I could be swayed to important, but I'm kind of optional as well. There's a lot of information in there. Yeah. Adam, I don't know if you can break the tie, but I'm not much help on this one.
So, David, maybe another point, right? I agree with you that there's information, and they present it in somewhat cohesive way, right? With data. The issue I had with that, there's nothing really new per se. Almost every article we read has an opinion. And all this, that debate about how impactful AI would be longer term, despite its costs, right, is the huge debate. And whether it will have profitability impact, and that's a big question that they're raising here. But is it new? And kind of, is it really news? Yeah, you have a point to that. Maybe it's worth skimming for just general erudition purposes. But I mean, that's why I came up.
I mean, unlike some other opinions that we read, this is well backed by some data and estimates. What do you think, Adam?
I guess, David, that this has a lot of information backing up sort of the speculation, I would say. The issue I had was that basically what they did is really prove the fact that this is a good question to be asking. I don't really know what to do with that as an AI leader. I can't in good conscience ask them. I mean, maybe to skim it, I would put it in an LLM and maybe ask for how it's relevant to me. But 31 pages with this much information to pretty much just hit home that the headline is a good question to be asking just wasn't something I really felt was a compelling enough case. I was optional as well.
Now,
and I can hear Tim already saying, "Don't say it was too much to read," and that's not what I'm saying. It's what they would get out of it, I guess. And to Luda's point, it was pretty focused in terms of the industry as well. So,
yeah,
David, I would definitely accept it if you wanted to raise the gavel and say, have a skim of it. Let's call it optional to bring it to their attention. To call it important to bring it to their attention. Maybe optional, they're just not even going to notice it's there. But
yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna call it important. Don't have to read it cover to cover in detail, but at least scan the charts, read some of the issues, and the way that they're debated by some experts here. All right.
I also personally don't agree.
That's okay. That's what
There's
makes
a lot of spend, but I think the benefit is going to just blow it out of the water. It's just
well, that's what makes this interesting, right? All right, Ankaj, next one.
Okay, the next one comes from Salesforce. So they have launched a new model called XLAM 1 billion parameter model, and they're calling it a tiny giant as it beats bigger AI models, especially in function calling tasks.
Yeah, Adam, what did you make of this?
Well, not especially in function calling, specifically in function calling. I consider this optional. It's more evidence, which I think we've seen enough of already, that when you fine tune when you train a model to just perform a specific function, you can get away with a lot fewer parameters to get a good result. I mean, this thing is purpose built for function calling, and their boast is that it's really good at function calling. Yeah, I would expect, as we're learning more about how when you create synthetic data for a purpose, you can make smaller models that achieve that purpose much better. But I don't think that's really something new. So I didn't really think there was much to take away from this.
Luda, how about you?
Yeah, I was trying to understand how did they really focused on function calling, and they used one test, data test, right? Data for testing to prove it. And on that particular parameter, they were higher than other models. But they didn't do much about testing the rest. And I think that might be a problem here. I didn't go to the research paper. If somebody read the research paper, that I think is useful information. But I was optional because it's so no news really, except for now Salesforce joined the ranks of the same small models on the devices.
But how about in terms of progressing us along the agentic AI path, which we're hearing a lot about, and obviously we're talking a lot about compound AI systems that'll have a variety of smaller models, each one specializing on a particular task. So you could envision this one alongside other models being potentially powerful combination to enable actual agentic AI, which we're hearing a lot about, but not actually seeing many examples of. Depending on your definition, I suppose. I think we reviewed one article that talked about the various definitions, or maybe I just read that one on my own, in which case I'll serve it up for all of us. But how did any reactions on that?
So it's certainly a trend, David, and the fact that Salesforce releases a model that could be used by folks, and it's fast, it's faster, and it's on device. I think that's an important step forward to saying, hey, agentic models are here to stay, and this will improve and increase our abilities to be distributed, essentially. So from that sense, it is important. And Salesforce is a big company with a lot of customers. So that gives it notoriety. I think for that purpose, or for that reason, we might put it as important. But
yes,
it was originally optional.
See, I actually think it's important because it's Salesforce, and I think people, I don't want to say the term forget, but that Salesforce has been using Einstein, which did have a form of NLP built into it and things like that. So they've been using machine learning AI for quite a few years now. So for me, I'm not sure that this is absolutely groundbreaking because they have a model too, right? But yeah, I agree with the point that Salesforce is out there in the game. And so for me, I think it's important for leaders literally to know that. So if that means skimming the article, it's important to me. But yeah, I think it is important to note that Salesforce, this huge company, is now expanding. I don't know if I want to say expanding Einstein, because I don't know exactly how they're using the model right now. But just the fact that they have it at all, to me, is important news personally.
That's
anyway,
a good point. They didn't really talk about how they're using it at this moment, or even when they plan to put it into the mix, or are they planning to offer it to customers? Unless I'm forgetting, which is possible because I read this yesterday.
Yeah, so they're not talking about it, but that opens the door for all kinds of interesting questions. Like Lucinda, one of our listeners, is talking about, does this show the way for LLMs on the to be a next operating system? I certainly think so, or at least be used within or as an operating system, or inside an operating system. Certainly, that's good thinking, Lucinda. I really do think so. It will make it much easier to navigate.
All right, I'm going to take us off the borderline and put it as important. It's been 4 days since we've assigned anything, so I think we have to have the AI leader catch up on some of these.
And David, this is more important, I think, for the AI leader than the first article.
Noted. All right, let's go on to the next one. First one of 2 articles, I believe, on Meta.
Yes, David. So this one talks about how Meta has been ordered to stop training its AI on Brazilian personal data, and it is similar to the pushback that Meta has been getting from EU. And I think John was talking about this last week only, that countries need to put some safeguards in place to protect their citizens' data.
That's right. Amanda, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, so it's always bad to give me personal information articles because I've had my identity stolen probably over 20 times in New York City. So for me, I'm literally immune to personal data risks. But I think it's important to note this. But at the same time, I think we have to remember, and being in data for over 2 decades now, your individual data, the way the model presents it, they really don't care about Amanda Fetch's individual information. It's training on so much data to literally pull out something I said is insane. So yes, I think it's always valid to note when there's any kind of breach, when personal data is used, things like that. So I would say it's important, but I think in the context of how much information is pulled and how many people typically these things entail, your information that they track it to you individually is going to be like far and few between. So I just want to put that out there, but curious to others' thoughts on this.
Yeah, what'd you think, Adam?
I thought it was optional news. It's not a new debate. The fact that, I mean, maybe if you're in Brazil, the fact that they could be fining Meta on a daily basis for training on it, but I don't know as an AI leader what I would take away from this or how this would affect my decision making processes.
Yeah, regarding the fine, I saw it was equivalent to $8,000. Was that per user? Because
Per day, I think, per day.
Okay, that's
But per user per day, or
I hope it's per user per day, because otherwise, Meta
All.
they'll be like, yeah, call us in a year, whatever.
They're just going to keep going, right?
But to the point about personal data, they mentioned that they found photos of children in the data that was put for training, and so that's what I think. A lot of that is flying under the radar. On the consumer side, people are still putting a lot of their pictures and discussions. I agree, but the pictures are particularly dangerous for deep fakes, for using in all kinds of sexual websites. So it's really dangerous. And I think there should be a better way to protect it. We'll be reviewing another article later on that we need a different way of protecting it. But this article talking about it, I think it's optional.
But to your point, Luda, this goes back to putting anything on the internet. As soon as you send this through an instant message, it's on the net. Yeah. So this is something I think, not to defend these big companies at all, but I think as users, we got to remember it. So Don't put the pictures out there. If you're not for everyone at that point.
Saying to everyone, stop, and people still do it. They don't understand. They don't understand the implications. But yeah.
All right, we'll go optional on this one. But it'll be interesting to see. I feel like the backlash is starting, right? And when we get to the Cloudflare article, which I'm not sure if that's next, we'll see that they're helping.
I did take a look, David, and it translated from Portuguese, the official announcement, but I think it's $8,800 per day, not per user. So.
Oh, geez. Okay. Good job, Brazil. That's really sticking it to Meta there.
Yeah.
Change. All right. Next article here.
Okay, the next one comes from Cloudflare, and Cloudflare is helping you get independence from AI. So they're offering a functionality where you can block AI bots, scrapers, and crawlers with a single click.
Yeah, I have to say, as someone with a business that helps technology companies create thought leadership, this is one of the best pieces of thought leadership that I have seen in a really long time, because it is just right in the sweet spot. It's informative. It's hitting. It's making you say, "Why am I not using Cloudflare?" And I just love this one for that reason. But I know we're not rating on thought leadership quality here. We are rating on the importance to the AI leader. What did we think about this one, Luda?
Yeah, I actually rated it essential. Because so the article talks about a way to tell the crawlers to not scrape the site, not just tell, but prevent the crawlers to take the information, the bots to take the information from the website. So there is a method. I think it's something text robots.txt. So there is a way to, on each website, that if you choose to put in instructions for the robots, which pages can be accessed and which cannot, those instructions can be out there. And some robots are considered to be good. They follow the instructions, and some ignore them. And so what this company has come up with is a switch that is independent of instructions. You prevent the bots to get information from your site. And I think that's a good protection measure. And I think leaders have to know about it, whether they're using this tool or any other tool. I think it is essential that these mechanisms start being above the line and people pay attention to that. So essential for me.
All right, Adam, what did you think? Ankash, can you scroll down and show the chart below this one?
You know, at first my thought was this was either optional or important because it's only relevant to Cloudflare users, and it doesn't allow people to be selective, right? And it'll also only help the people who don't want the bots to crawl any of their stuff. But more and more bots crawling your site is how things like Perplexity and, you know, it's the new discoverability. So I thought maybe the scope was a bit limited. But listening to Luda's case, I think I can get behind essential as well. Even if not specifically because they're going to go with Cloudflare, to start thinking about what their strategy is going to be, making sure that they're addressing and coming up with an answer for their own website and their own information about how they're going to approach and solve this problem.
Yeah, I think this article is essential. I think some of the information they're showing here is just super interesting. I mean, if you check out this chart, I don't know if you could blow this up for us a little bit, Ankaj. It shows the bots that are the AI bots specifically that are hitting websites and which are hitting it more. You know what that blue line is? That blue line is ByteDance.
Yeah.
So, but it also noted that they are the most likely to be blocked by Cloudflare as well. But, you know, when you hear the arguments in the US government about trying to block TikTok, think of this and feeling that you don't think that they should do that. Take a look at this chart. Okay, they're hoovering up more, or attempting to hoover up more data than any other company out there. Google, ChatGPT, OpenAI, etc. I thought the data in here was stuff that you just don't get a look at, right? That's really specific about what the AI bots are doing. And I think it calls into question as I'm reading this and I see, you know, I think about, do I want to block these bots, right? Or do I want to let them in? Because as search continues to evolve and potentially move into chatbots, maybe I want to have my information discovered, but maybe I only want it by certain ones, as you said, Adam, and you can't quite select what you can do with it yet. I'm definitely coming down on essential on this one. Did you have any thoughts you wanted to add, Amanda?
No, not really. I think everyone touched on the points. I can also go behind essential as well.
So, David, I think this is just a new frontier, really. We know we need more data to train these models, right? So there's a movement on synthetic data. Perplexity needs access to a lot of information to give you a good result. So there will be a give and take, right? But we do need to start putting awareness to the fact that we as users need to control it, realizing that more data is needed for training, but what is data we want to keep and what is data that we want to offer, and also block certain bots that we don't want to give our data to at all, right? So it's these controls that I think will become visible, and awareness to that we don't have them yet, that it is the beginning, right, starting here. So we need to elevate that awareness, and I think that's why essential.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting. They referenced the perplexity issue that we talked about last week without naming them, but they linked to them to show that that's what they were talking about. And they noted that the perplexity bot was blocked often by their method because of the way that they identify what might be a bot. So this whole article I just found fascinating, that you don't get to see behind the curtain of some of these security applications to this level sometimes. And again, like I said, I think this was a brilliant piece of thought leadership, although I think I could have written it a little bit better myself. But great information. We're going essential on this one. Let's go on to the next one.
Okay, the next one is an article about OpenAI. So this is news from last year about how a hacker stole OpenAI's secrets, but it has now raised fears that China could too steal those secrets.
Yeah, so this was a hack into their own communications and chats within their company, and they were, definitely discussing their products and capabilities and such, not necessarily, I don't think, into user data. What did we think about this one? Who did we assign here? Adam.
I was trying to find something new or useful other than speculation in this article. I mean, it's bringing up news from over a year ago and saying, now we're afraid that China might do this also. It just felt really optional to me. Like they're trying to just sort of stir things up and garner attention around something that's frankly old news.
Yeah.
This happened a long time ago, and to just sort of use it now to raise the fear meter around China's threat. I don't know. I hesitate, but the word that comes out of my mouth anyway, I'll say this is garbage. So it was very optional for me. I'd give it Paul's nothing burger if I had one.
Yeah, same here.
All right, we'll just move on then, since we've spent a lot of time on some of the other pieces here, and I think we still have one or two more left. Optional. This one I was looking forward to. Ankash.
Yeah. So this one provides an independent analysis of AI language models and API providers across a wide variety of parameters. So there's quality, there's speed, there's price, and then there are other abilities like reasoning and knowledge, coding, and all sort of different things.
Okay, I don't know how we're not going to call this one essential. I may put the gavel down if you guys don't, but let's see what you thought about this one. What do we have? It's deleted here. Oh, Amanda.
Okay. Yeah, it should be me. Yeah, I was at least important. For me, a lot of times it's difficult for me to go essential. I don't know if I've really ever been essential, just because I think every article hits a slightly different audience for me. So it's tough for me to call that. but I'd be open for essential. Yeah. So I mean, this is another one, sort of like a Hugging Face or something, other open or LLM leaderboards, right? So it is a great tool, if I want to call it a tool, but anyway, sort of this collection of charts, sort of comparing models. So yeah, I think it's at least important. And so again, it's looking at quality, speed, cost, things like that, which are all important to the leader. So I would say, yeah, I can definitely go essential and have the leader just at least skim these charts. But again, there's different leaderboards, right? So I think it's important, with that being said, that maybe check out other ones as well, just to get sort of different perspectives on these things, right? I don't know if I'd say use this as your end all be all forever. But yeah, I could go essential as well.
Yeah, well, the creators of this were transparent in that, for example, for quality, they're picking 3 particular benchmarks, and the way that you might rate your need for one of these, your use case will kind of dictate which metrics you focus on. But I mean, there's nothing else out there like this that puts all the different types of benchmarks, cost, quality, etc., together in one place and lets you select and go around. I mean, this is an advisory firm, and so they're putting these out there, but then they want to help you assess an LLM for your particular use case, but they're giving all this away for free. I think it's fantastic personally. Ludo, what did you think?
Yeah, I would back essential. It's for any AI leader to know that this exists. It's a comprehensive way of not only looking at the model, but also APIs and how they are working with a particular model. And the price that we rarely see in these assessments was also included on these charts. So I think it is important to know that this exists and take it into account in your decision making.
Yeah, and Andrew Ng gave this a shout out on his social channel. So if we were to say something otherwise, we'd be arguing with one of the potential godfathers of AI.
I saw that, but that's okay. I saw it too.
All right, essential. We've got one more today on Kaj.
Okay. The last one comes again from Meta. So this talks about the multi-token prediction model. So Meta announced it a few months back, but now they are open for research. So they are available for everyone to use now.
Yeah, non-commercial though. I tried to look back to find when we talked about this, because I know we did, to see what we rated it. I don't know if Adam, you had done the same thing and found it. I couldn't find it quickly enough this morning. Luda, what did you think about this?
I looked it up. We rated it as optional. I remember the discussion that this is an important step in the efficiency and cost reduction. So because you are doing the prediction in parallel and selecting the best one, so it certainly will lower the cost. And I think the original results were 15 to 20 percent, somewhere there. So we rated it as optional at that time, but with a note, something to watch. So Meta is moving a little slower than I would expect and opening it up for research. So hoping that this will be proven and various test cases used and stuff like that, I think, by researchers. Great move. But I would still say something to watch. It's a very good, interesting model. It performed better than others in original assessments. So something to watch, but at the moment, optional.
Yeah, it feels like we can't really rate it important until it's got a commercial license, right? And there, you can play around with it, but you can't really use it. What do you think, Adam? Are you on the same page?
Yeah, agreed.
All right, optional on this one. We had 7 articles today, and I believe we may have had 2 essentials to start off the week. Last week we were slow. I mean, we only had 3 days anyway, but I think maybe we had 1 essential at the most. Today we're kind of starting off with a bang. I know we're going to give Ankaj a minute here to get up our summary. Here we go.
I'll take a second here. Just talk about the Learning Lab tonight.
Yes, I was wondering.
I believe Paul is going to be demoing a tool called Chat Hub. which is a place where you can ask, I think it's 6 or 8 different large language models the same question at the same time and compare their answers. So he'll be taking us through a use case of how he's using that to compare different models and the types of information you get out of them.
All right, like it's gonna be cool. It's at 7 p.m. Eastern. I will put the link in our newsletter for those of you that subscribe to it. And if you don't, please do so. You can go to our site and sign up there. It's free. Or you can take a look in the window that provided the link to this chat. So summing up, we've got 2 essentials. We've got the benchmarking tool, which is fantastic. We've got the, what is the second one here? I'm trying to remember here. Independent analysis. Wait, you've got the same thing. Oh, we got the Cloudflare article. I was like, the titles make it seem like it's the same, similar topic here. So Cloudflare article about the bots crawling your site as well. We put the Goldman one as important, or I kind of put it as important. I did a little authoritarianism there. We have the Salesforce article as important. The other 3 are optional. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. We will be here tomorrow, as we always are, and have a great one.